Welcome to Sisters Insanity ASMR story time after dark. I can't really whisper as much as I would like to because it hurts my voice, and yeah, it's hard to read for a long period of time in a whisper. So I'm going to read it normally, and I suggest you maybe turn down your volume so that it's just the right, just the right volume for sleeping. The main character is Sharn. He is a boy in the picture with white hair with purple tufts at the end and red eyes. And also pay attention to the bracelet here with their little red jewel in it, because that'll be coming up here. Sharn's Escape. This story was written for Connor, but anyone is willing to read it or listen to it. Note, it wasn't meant to be a book. Originally, as it was just a story I played in my head like a movie. As I was playing the main character. Prologue. This story is the newest in a long line of stories I've come up with since I was young. It started with the main character being called, of course, Taishokai Urameshi. He is the king of a world called Baronovia, where he can turn into any animal, fictional or not, as well as have multiple human bodies. To describe it in more detail, in order for Taisho to take over a human body, he has to be born to it. Kind of like possessing a body, but the body is originally yours. Whenever he is not currently in said body, it acts like he would in its place, like on autopilot. He has lived for millions of years, so he has many bodies he can switch back and forth from. His powers are limitless. He can heal himself as well as cast any spell imaginable. I will go into more details in later books if I write them. This isn't the first time he's accidentally found himself on another planet. And if you guys can see the chat, I'm not sure if you can in the video, but it says yes, Carnival is purposely spelled with a K, as well as many names in here are based on other things. So warning, I do not own any pictures or any names regarding to anime, and not all anime names will be correct with the pictures. Sometimes I make up names. Basically, in my stories, I would pull from movies and TV shows and animes that I've watched and use it. Because before I learned about ASMR, I would make up my own stories in my head, like playing out movies. That's how I got to sleep. Okay, so let's go ahead and start here. Sorry if you heard that, that was my stomach. I don't know why. Chapter 1. On a rainy night in a busy city, in one of the city's largest marketplaces, there's a boy, not 12 years old, lying in a dark alley. The rain beating down on his face, he opens his eyes, not sure of where he is or how he got there. Trying to stand up, he finds it hard because for some reason his hands are shackled by handcuffs. As he manages to get to his feet, he finds a broken mirror in the alley, lying by a dumpster. When he crouches down to look in it, he sees that he is only a young boy with red eyes and white hair with tufts of purple at the ends. Who am I? How did I get here? Why am I in chains? Asked Sharn to himself. He only remembered that his name was Sharn, and that was it. As for how he ended up in this alley was beyond him. This place didn't seem like his home, let alone his planet. He looked past his chains and saw a bracelet. It was large and covered a lot of his lower wrist. It had a large round ruby on it. Having a sinking feeling about it, he tries to change form into something else, anything else. To do this, he raises his right hand to chest height, uses his pointer and middle fingers in a downward swiping motion to try to open his options menu. Normally when doing this, it would pop up in a milky white, almost see-through box. It didn't open. His suspicions were correct. This bracelet was blocking all of his powers from his home planet. This includes his healing ability and everything else. He tried his best to grab hold of it and remove it, but instead it gave him an electric shock so strong he stumbled backwards and fell down on his back. Crying out in pain and wriggling on the floor, he hears a noise. Footsteps walking down the alleyway. The sounds high heels make on concrete. Sharn stops what he was doing and looks over to the sound of the noise. There he sees a tall woman wearing red. And she looks like this, but without the wings. "Well, well, who might this be?" she said, looking to Sharn. "Do you need some assistance?" she asked him. Sharn scrambled to his feet, having dealt with several others of her kind. Could tell she was most likely a vampire. He started to slowly back away from her as she walked closer and closer to him. "What's wrong, love?" she asked. Sharn, still backing away, hits the back wall of the alley. Dead end. He raises up his arms in front of his face to shield himself from her. She comes up to him and whispers in his ear as he trembles in fear. "Oh, you poor thing. I'm not going to eat you. Yet." She giggles, backing up to get a good look at him. Her glistening eyes darken a little in confusion when she sees his bracelet. "A carnival ID?" she asked, looking at him. He musters up enough courage to say, "Who are you? Where am I?" "Me?" she asked, surprised, as if he really didn't know her. "I am Queen Valkyrie, but you may call me Lady Valkyrie. As far as where you are? You're in Cherrywood," she replied. "That's the name of this planet?" Sharn asked. Valkyrie looked confused. "No, you silly. We're on a planet called Corvus, run by carnivals," she replied. "Were you born in a barn? Everybody knows this," she continued to say. "Obviously, you must know this because you have a carnival ID on you. Did you escape from one? Oh, you poor thing, you must have." Sharn, looking confused, was not sure whether or not he should tell her he's not from this place, that he's in fact the king of another world entirely, when she continued to speak. "Which carnival location do you come from? I don't think I've seen you around these parts," she asked. Sharn, seeing that this may be his only way out, tells her that he does not know where he is or how he got here. He doesn't even know why he's chained up. "Do you know how to remove these?" he asked as he raised his arms up. I'm sure I have. I'm sure if you come back to my mansion with me, I have a master key somewhere that might work. As far as the ID bracelet, I'm sorry, you're out of luck on that one. You would have to know which carnival you came from, because only the said ringleader of that carnival could free you. It's sort of a binding agreement," she explained. Sharn sighed, not sure of what to do. "Come with me," she said. Before he had time to react, she grabbed the chain in between the cuffs and did something Sharn had never seen a vampire do yet. Teleport. I'm going to take a drink of water in between chapters, so give me a second. Chapter 2. They arrive in the foyer of a large mansion. With a startled gasp, Sharn flinched, not expecting to be teleported. He nearly fell backwards again, and would have if not for her grip on the chains. A butler walked up to Valkyrie. "Your siblings are out for the moment," he replied. She acknowledged him and moved up the stairs, still dragging Sharn behind her, giving no explanation to the butler. Sharn looked back at the butler, who carried on with what he was doing. Great, Sharn thought to himself. If he doesn't question this must happen a lot, which means she might just eat me after all. Valkyrie giggled. Sharn wondered why she was laughing, for no reason, as he focused his hardest not to trip going up the stairs. They reached a study on the second floor. He sat in a chair as she rummaged through an old desk drawer. She grabbed for something, turned round, and said, "Ah, see, I told you I had the master key." She approached Sharn with it, but stopped just before she reached him. "Here's the deal," she said, continuing. "I will let you out of those handcuffs, but first you must promise me something." "Yeah, what?" asked Sharn. "You have to promise me that that until we find out which carnival you belong to, you will serve me at this estate for as long as it takes until we can look into freeing you from the ID bracelet." He thought it over in his head for a bit, but decided that he doesn't know this world like she does, and if she's willing to help him, he will agree to her terms. He nods his head and says, "I have a condition as well." She looked taken aback. "Oh?" she asked. "I know you're a vampire, and it's not like I have not run across them before, but, well, until you help me get this ID off, there will be no feeding on me," Sharn explained. Valkyrie smirked and agreed as she uncuffed him. "Great. I have contact at our local carnival here in Cherrywood. Maybe he has some ideas," she explained. "Let me find his number and give him a call. Meanwhile, do be a dearie and go to the kitchen and make me some oolong tea, please," she said, while rummaging in her drawer again to find her number book. He sighed and walked out of the room and down the stairs in search for the kitchen. When was it going to be a good time to tell her that he was not this 11-year-old boy he was somehow trapped in? That he is Taisho Urameshi, king of Baronovia, the great dragon, the giant dragon that the world respected and that some feared. He had to get back. His kingdom was always under attack from low-level monsters trying to overthrow his kingdom. Would his sons and daughter be able to hold him off without him there? He wondered to himself as he found his way luckily enough into the kitchen. The kitchen was huge and in pristine condition. The butler was there, washing dishes, when he noticed him enter the room. "Hello there. I did not catch your name." He stopped, turning around to Sharn. "Sharn," he replied. Somehow that is the only thing he knew. That's all he knew of this body he was in. "Ah, I see. My name is Sebastian. It is nice to meet you," he replied. "I was sent to make Lady Valkyrie tea," Sharn explained. "Ah, I see. So you owe her money? And she has put you to work?" he asked. Sharn looked at him puzzled. "No, not really," he replied. The butler grabbed everything he needed in no time flat, and had the plate with a steaming hot mug of oolong tea ready to go. "Well, whatever the reason may be, here, first chores on me," he said as he went back to his dishes. "Oh, thank you, you're so kind," Sharn said as he walked out of the kitchen and down the long hallway to get to the stairs. At the end of the hall is the grand foyer. To the left is a grand staircase. Sharn was about to head for the stairs, but stopped as he heard voices saying, "You'll do better next time, Cora." "Yeah, I sucked the first time I tried, too." Multiple voices were being heard as the door opened, and in walked two older boys, one much older than the other, and with them was a young female, which Sharn assumed was Kara. They looked at the new help for a while. "Since when did we get new help?" asked the younger boy. "I'm not sure," replied the oldest. "Who are you?" he asked. "Me, I'm Sharn. I guess I'll be helping out around the place for a bit," he replied. "When you go to give her the tea, tell her that her siblings have returned home, will you?" the eldest requested. Sure, yes, sir," said Sharn. For those in the audiobook, this is the eldest. This is the middle child. This is the youngest child, Kara. The eldest chuckled a bit, and the three walked down another hallway and out of sight. Sharn made his way up the stairs and back into the study. Lady Valkyrie was on a call, so Sharn set the tea on the desk beside her and took a seat. Moments later, she hung up the phone and sipped on her tea. "Your siblings have returned, ma'am," Sharn told her. Good, replied Valkyrie, continuing. "I was able to get a hold of my friend in the Cherrywood Carnival, and he says he's willing to see you tonight at midnight after the closing of his show." "Great, thank you so much, ma'am," said Sharn. "I'm still a little confused on the carnivals. Why do they have the power?" Sharn asked, but trailed off as Lady Valkyrie had gotten up and dashed with lightning-quick speed to him, putting a finger on his lips. Now, let's not speak ill of the carnival lords. I will tell you what you need to know," she said, sitting back in the chair with her tea ready. "For as long as Corvus, it has been run by the strict sanctions of the carnival districts. Each town has its own carnival, and with each carnival comes a ringleader. That leader holds absolute power in that town," she explains. If they have absolute power over people and towns, how are you queen?" asked Sharn. "That's a story for another time, young one," she replied as she licked her lips and continued the story. "A ringleader is not a dictator, but someone with the town's best interest at heart. They take in the young hooligans and train them to be good by using strict work methods, and punish those who do not pull their own weight. You cannot leave the carnival until you are 20 years old. No one ever escapes the jurisdiction of the carnival, so you can see my amazement that you have managed to escape." She looked at him as if eyeing him up. "Not just children work there, but jail inmates as well. The streets of Corvus are the safest they've been. The safest they've ever have been. because of the amazing ringleaders that run them. Adults and children alike run the show together. Anything you can think of a circus having, they have it. So now you must understand why each and every carnival is much needed and respected, she says as she stands up. Dinner will be served shortly. We have a few hours to kill before midnight, so why not join us for dinner? She asked. Sharn looked at her, thinking to himself if she was going to eat him Sharn looked at her, thinking to himself if she is going to eat him when she said, Sebastian has put a lot of hard work into the dinner. Let's go. She motioned to him to join her. They walked down the hall and down the big stairs to the foyer. They turned left instead of right, the right hallway that Sharn knew that was led into a huge dining hall with a big wooden table big enough for 20 people. It had carvings in the sides of the legs and on the legs of vines. I gotta reread it. It had carvings on the sides and the legs of vines. I think the legs have vines. Spell check, I think, messed it up. Anyway, there already sitting down was the youngest brother, and I don't know why. My screen just flashed. I was making sure you guys were still seeing this. Okay, sorry about that. There, already sitting down, was the eldest brother, youngest brother, and Kara. The table was so big, but instead of sitting next to each other, the eldest brother and Kara sat next to each other on the right-hand side of the head seat of the table where Valkyrie took her seat. Meanwhile, the youngest son sat on the other side of the two siblings, but much farther down. Valkyrie motioned for Sharn to sit down, which he did, at the other end of the table, as to be as far from them as possible. The eldest chuckled a little when Valkyrie went to speak. She gestured to the eldest brother. This is my younger brother, Kaname Kuran, she explained. He said, It's nice to meet you. Valkyrie then gestured to the younger girl. This is Kara Kuran. She is our little sister and a vampire in training. As far as the blonde one who chooses not to sit with us, his name is Ciel Kuran. He's in his rebellious stages, she explained as Ciel grunts and turns his nose up. Kaname slams his hand on the table, half standing up in the process, and was about to say something when Sebastian approaches Ciel from behind and whispers in his ear. Now, young master, that is inappropriate. We have guests. Ciel turns his head to Sharn. Thank you for joining us for dinner. It's nice to see new faces here at the manor, Ciel says forcefully. Sebastian says, See, that wasn't hard, as he raises back up. This is Sebastian. Obviously, he's playing Sebastian from Black Butler, and the three maids are here as well in the story coming up. Well, now, 3 other servants arrive with trays of food just at this time. Tonight's dinner is served. It is a roast duck and a rich gravy sauce with creamed peas and homemade bread with Darjeeling tea, said Sebastian. The 2 blonde-haired servants' boys served the Kuran family their meals, as well as placing a wine glass full of red liquid in front of them. Sharn shuddered at the fact that it was most likely blood. "Enjoy," said Sebastian. There was a female servant with red hair, who went to serve Sharn his meal, but tripped on practically air, and stumbled towards Sharn with plates flying off the big tray. Sharn looked on in horror, but just as he thought he would be covered in this night's dinner, Sebastian zipped in front of him and cut all of the plates and the teacup before anything was ever spilled. "What are we going to do with you, Wren?" asked Sebastian. "Wow," said Sharn. "You're amazing," he continued. A small, apologetic voice from the girl servant said, "I'm so very sorry, please forgive me," as she bowed to him and hurriedly exited the room. "Please forgive the girl, she still has much training to go through," Sebastian explained, setting Sharn's food in front of him. Sharn looked on in amazement as the dinner and even the dessert was the best he had ever tasted in his life. Chapter 3. Midnight rolled around faster than expected, and a thick fog rolled in over the mansion grounds. The Caron family had spent the time eating and telling Sharn stories of Corvus's past. They explained that the carnivals are in each town to keep order and to give the town entertainment as well as strict punishments to its employees, who are basically child slaves, except for the jail inmates, of course. Although they also take in prisoners from jails who prefer to work off their sentences in the public eye. Most carnivals are happy, fun, and entertaining on the outside, but in the shadows where the public's eye does not reach, they are dark and sinister. Those who do not work or do not improve at their job are either cast down to the dungeons of the carnival, where they must clean and fight off monsters like giant rats to survive, or get sent to entertain the masses by participating in deadly games of chance or races. Like these pictures here that are from Dead Man Wonderland. Many times, prisoners have been found dead nearby the carnival. Police cannot look into the matter because they are very good at hiding it, and of course carnival work is law under the grounds. It is a fun place to go for those who visit, but is a totally different for those running the show. They're basically trying to stay alive during each show. Of course, there are those inmates who are good and get to skip the games and sell concessions and a wide variety of other non-harming tasks. "I know the ringleader Cal in Cherrywood's very own carnival. He has agreed to meet us. Like I said so, we must be going," Faculty explained, finishing the rest of her wine glass and standing up. "When can we expect you back, dear sister?" asked Kaname. "I am not sure, but you are in charge until I return, dear brother," she replied. "I will send word as soon as I know," she said. They headed out of the dining hall and back down the long hallway towards the foyer. Surprisingly enough, Valkyrie went back upstairs to the study, with Sharn following behind. "In order to get to Cal, we need to role-play to get past the employees," she explained. "Here." She handed Sharn a dark brown hooded cloak. He put it on, wondering what kind of role-play they were going to do. "It's to cover up your existing ID, as I am going to pretend I'm turning you over to them as a new hire, but it will need to look more convincing." She handed him the cuffs. He looked at her in shock. "Don't worry," he said, as she showed him the key. "I will have this on me." And she put the key in a pocket. "I thought you called your contact the ringleader. If that's the case, why do we have to go on incognito?" asked Sharn. "The employees get worried when I bring someone in for work. The last inmate I brought to Cal was a brutal serial killer. He had quite a few screws loose, if you would call it that. I could have just killed him and fed on him, but this guy was batshit crazy, and I'm sure he wouldn't have tasted good," she explained. "He went ballistic in one of the games and ended up killing all of the contestants by beheading them all. He was terminated by the carnival and has been banished to the lower levels of the carnival dungeons. Who knows if he's even still alive? Point of the matter is that anyone I bring in that looks like an inmate is watched from afar. They won't rough you up," she explained. Sharn pondered the possibilities of how this could go. Okay, I will do it, but I have a question," he asked. "Why did you decide to uphold the agreement and help me?" he asked. Valkyrie smiled and replied, "I will hold up the honor of the Kuran clan and help serve the Urameshi clan." Sharn gasped in disbelief. How did you know?" he asked. She giggled some and said, "Sharn, I mean Taisho, I can read your mind. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything sooner," she explained. "How sad it is to be stuck in a young boy's body with no clue of how you got there. Lord Taisho, I will do what I must to help you, and when the time comes, I hope you will have my back," she said. "Of course," replied Sharn, bowing to her. "It's not like I haven't helped vampires when they were too hungry to find food. I mean, when my powers are not blocked, I have the power to not get turned into a vampire when bit. That's how I was able to help Alicia," Sharn thought, which is an ASMR artist that I like to listen to. Her vampire is called Alicia, so shout out to you. Sharn thought as he put on the shackles again, forgetting already that she could read minds. "Alicia?" Valkyrie said. "You know her?" she asked. Sharn nodded and went to speak, but Valkyrie interrupted. "Alicia is my daughter. Where is she? How did you find her?" "Wait, how? How is she your daughter? She's not from this world," asked Sharn. "She is from this world. She was born here. But one day she vanished. We looked everywhere we could. I even ordered all the carnivals to look for her, but she was gone," Valkyrie explained. "Maybe by some chance she got sent to my world like I somehow got sent to this one. Like a void or something. Small world, I guess." Sharn was going to go on, but Valkyrie motioned for him to stop. "It's time," she said, as she grabbed his chains. "Are you ready?" she asked, as Sharn nods in agreement. They teleport to Cherrywood's own carnival, which looks something like this. Creepy and dark. They arrive on the hill overlooking the massive facility. There were roller coasters, countless games, booths, and even a Ferris wheel. The castle in the background housed the games, as well as inmates and staff dorms. There was a long dirt path leading out of the compound. "Wow, it's huge," said Sharn. Valkyrie put his hood up over his head to cover his face in the shadows as they walked down the dirt path towards the carnival. Now the drink. Chapter 4. At the gate of the carnival sat a small one-man booth. "I'm sorry, miss, the park is closing soon," he muttered, stopping suddenly, noticing that it was Valkyrie. "Oh, Lady Valkyrie, how may I be of service?" the scrawny man in the booth said, as he bowed to her. Sharn was surprised he even had enough room to do that. "I have an appointment with Ringleader Cal," she explained. "I see," he replied. "Go on through," he said as he opened the gates for her and they walked in. Now inside the park, They passed by booths of mini-games and guess-my-age games, many mindless and very rigged games. Many people were filing out past them to leave. People of all age groups passed them, all talking about the games and how real they made the pain look. 1 second. Sorry, I have kind of family interruption. I will be back to narrating in a moment. Rest your eyes. Okay, sorry about that. I finally just had to shut the door because they wouldn't not go back to sleep. Now they do it. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I had to wait till someone passed. Alright, so occasionally they would pass an inmate sweeping up or shutting down a booth, and they would glare at Sharn. Even though his eyes were veiled in the darkness of the oversized cloak hood, he felt as if they could see into his very soul. Valkyrie led Sharn up to the castle doors as people continued to file out. There were guards at the door. "My dear Lady Valkyrie, we have been expecting you," said the guard, dressed in knight's armor. He opened the door for them. "Go down the hall, and you should reach his office. Please take a seat and wait for him. He is currently rounding up inmates back to their holding cells," the guard said as they entered the castle. On the walk down the hall, there were a few inmates talking amongst themselves, and they glared at Sharn as well. He felt uncomfortable there, but he noticed as soon as they were going to approach him, they saw who he was with, and they slowly backed off. They reached Cal's door, opened it, and went inside, and took a seat. His office had a long table with 2 chairs for guests, as well as a really comfortable-looking armchair for him. On the walls, and even on the table, were tons of frames with pictures of a large dude with long purplish hair and red eyes, and almost elf-like ears, smiling a sharp, toothy grin, holding hands or posing with what Sharn assumed were inmates. On his table was a name tag that read, "Calphorius Kuran, ringleader." "Kuran!" exclaimed Sharn. "So that's how you have joint control of the town with the carnival. He's your brother?" Sharn asked. And this is a picture of Calphorius Kuran, which is obviously Manifesto from The Exorcist. "Close, but he's my cousin. Don't remind him of it either," she said. Sharn was about to ask why when the door opened. The large dude from all the photos cantered in. "Lady Valkyrie, my dear cousin, how may I help you today?" Cal asked as he bowed to her and sat down in his chair. "Like I said over the phone, Cal, I have a carnival ID to have you identify," she replied, throwing off Sharn's hood. She stood up and uncuffed him, and taking the robe from him, "Well, for one, he doesn't look familiar to me. What's your name and crime?" he asked. "This body's name is Sharn," he said, not caring to really explain to Cal that he's some ancient king from another world. "My name is Taisho. I am not from this world, and I don't have any memories of Sharn or his past. So I don't know how to answer your second question," he replied. "Likely story," interrupted Cal, continuing to say, "You just don't want to, you just don't want to go back to doing hard time, do you? So you pretend to." Cal meant to say more, but got interrupted by Valkyrie. "He's telling the truth. I found him in an alleyway, totally unsure of where he was," explained Valkyrie. "Come here and show me your ID," said Cal, holding out his hand. Sharn stood up and walked towards Cal, holding out his arm. Cal grabbed it and examined the long leather ID bracer carefully. A standard red ruby on the front that holds the power in it. "You know, these ideas are to keep even the most violent inmates in check, using electric shocks," said Cal as he turned over Sharn's arm and looked at the other side. "Oh, now isn't that interesting?" he murmured to himself. "What?" said Valkyrie and Sharn together. "You didn't notice that there was a logo on the back of every ID? This one shows a crude drawing of a wolf head. Your boy here is a member of the Carnival of Wolves," Cal replied. "The Carnival of Wolves is a pack of very interesting wolf people," explained Cal. "Like werewolves?" asked Sharn. "Not exactly. They are very much human, but act like wolves. It is rumored, though, that some of the higher-ups can turn into wolves, but that is just a rumor," Cal explained. He explained that the Carnival of Wolves was located on a mountain in the winter districts. It is at least a 5-hour drive to get there, he explained. How about a teleport? Asked Sharn. Teleporting won't work. I can only teleport in and around my town, replied Valkyrie. Cal sighed and stood up, walking over to Sharn and looking him in the eyes. What's the rush? Even if you go back there, why do you think they'll set you free? He asked. Sharn gulped and said, I don't belong here. I need to get this off so I can return to my home. If I don't, I could die here. Cal looked him over and sighed once more and walked back to his desk and sat down. I can't have my cousin walking around in the cold, trying to help you, he said, producing a key from inside his desk. Holding it out, he says, Take the caravan. Wait, you want us to take the carnival caravan? Don't you need to run the carnival? Asked Valkyrie. I've emptied it for a few days, so you can use it. You will need to move fast. The sun rises at 6 a.m. and with this journey, you can make it by 5 a.m. if you rush, explained Cal. He threw the keys to Valkyrie as she was catching them. Cal used his vampiric speed to zoom over to Sharn. You better protect my dear cousin with your life if anything goes awry up north, he threatened and zoomed back to his chair. Valkyrie caught the keys as they were putting the cloak and cuffs back on Sharn to get back out of the carnival. Cal said, Don't put a scratch on her, or I'll have to hurt you, he said, glaring at Sharn. As they walked out of the carnival, Sharn asked, Did he mean you or the car? Valkyrie giggled. Don't let him get to you. He acts tough, but he does care, or he wouldn't have given us the keys to his baby. And yes, he meant his car, she said, grinning. Luckily, by the time the meeting was over, all of the inmates were back in their cells or dorms. So the walk out wasn't nearly as uncomfortable as the walk in. Outside of the castle, there was a big brown van with the words California's Curon in big purple and green print, and in little print it said, located in Cherrywoods. It looked like an old hippie van, but with darker colors. Sharn cringed at the color scheme. The inside was just as weird as the outside. In the front, there were heavy dark brown curtains that were tied up neatly so you could see out the windshield. It looked like they could be closed to drown out the sun. In the back, there was a rug on the floor with 2 benches with hooks on the floor near the benches. Sharn assumed they were for the transporting of inmates to the carnival. Valkyrie started the engine and they were off down the road. As they drove, Sharn watched out the passenger side window, watching the carnival disappear behind a row of trees. He spent most of his trip looking out at this new world outside of his window. The car ride was particularly quiet, and he found himself drifting off to sleep. Like you should be right now. Chapter 5. He awoke several hours later with a jolt as the van hit something. As he opened his eyes, he saw they were driving on and off the main road and nearly missing trees. There was snow falling all around them. Sharn looked over at Lady Valkyrie. Her head was bobbing like she was about to fall asleep, but her eyes showed a weaker side to her. Lady Valkyrie, are you okay? Asked Sharn. It's been 4 hours since the last feeding. I can barely see. I am getting too weak to stay awake, she replied. What about what you had at dinner? He asked. That's just a substitute to the real. She went to explain but fell asleep. The van jumped off the road and went driving through a field. Sharn managed to scoot as close to her as possible, steering them back onto the side of the road and slamming on the brakes. He turned the car off, still feeling the rush of adrenaline and anxiety flowing over him as he breathed heavily to calm down. He looked at Lady Valkyrie, who was in a trance of some sort, her eyes blurry and unfocused like a zombie. Sharn thought to himself that if she didn't get fed soon, she'd go unconscious or even die. There were no animals Sharn could see through the driving snowstorm. He pondered whether or not to allow her to feed a little on him, but without his powers, could he fight back the vampirism? The change? Or would he die if he couldn't stop her? Sharn looked out at the snow outside. The sun was about to rise. They were so close, and she had helped him this far. He couldn't just leave her. He grabbed the ugly curtains in the windows and pulled them shut to block the oncoming sun. He moved so that he was sitting on her lap, facing her. He lifted her head and hugged her. "Take some," Sharn replied. Valkyrie hesitated, even in her trance. "Just do it," he said, and as he places his hand on the back of her head and pushed her head into his neck. The hunger was too strong. God, this spelling is getting really annoying. Too strong, even for her, and she drank, and drank, and drank, and... "Stop now, Valkyrie," said Sharn, feeling the life force ebbing away with each drink, and getting lightheaded and weak. "Valkyrie," he said, fighting hard to stay conscious. He pushed himself off of her, and rolling back into his seat, he suddenly got cold and found it hard to breathe. He put the hood of his robe up and lay down with his back to Lady Valkyrie, who had already fallen asleep. Sharn found a crack in the curtains where he could see out. He watched the snow fall for a minute, but found it very hard to keep his eyes open, and fell asleep. Like you should be right now. The van got covered in a thick layer of snow. Chapter 6. Several hours later, the snow stopped, and I am getting Manicam pop-ups. Can you not? I'm in the middle of filming. Really? It won't let me leave it. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was like, I can't see you guys. Roar. Okay. Sorry. Several hours later, the snow had stopped, and the sun, which was high in the sky, now poured down over a snow-filled forest. Among the plants was a tall mound of snow the size of the van. Lady Valkyrie awoke and blinked her eyes, forgetting for a bit where she was, wondering why she felt so good, like she had just had fresh blood. Flesh. That's funny. As soon as that thought crossed her mind, she remembered what she was doing and fully snapped awake. "Blood? Why do I smell blood?" she asked as she looked into the passenger side. "Sharn! Sharn!" she screamed as she grabbed him by the shoulder and turned him over to face her. She pulled back his hood to find his eyes weren't open and blood had dripped from 2 holes on his neck. She gasped and felt her fangs, as in shock that she did it. "Why, Sharn? Why?" she asked. No reply. She checked for her pulse and found that he was alive, but barely. She opened the driver door and stepped into the snow. With the snow falling off the door and the sun shining down on her was nearly blinding. It was then that she realized Sharn had closed the curtains for her. She looked up at the sun, squinting. "Luckily, I'm a pure-blood vampire, and the sun doesn't affect me. Can't say the same for my cousin," she said. She saw how bad the car was covered in snow, and decided that they would never be able to get it unstuck. He needs to get the carnival ID off, or he's never gonna heal, she said to herself. Lady Valkyrie walked to the passenger side door, and it opened. Snow fell off the door as she was opening it. She reached in and picked up Sharn, carrying him in her arms. She took off at a run through the forest at vampiric speeds. The cold air woke Sharn up, and he grunted in pain. Sharn, you're okay, she said, looking down at him despite running still at top speed. You're okay. Oh, sorry. You're okay, he said faintly. I am so glad I am so glad you didn't turn into a vampire, Valkyrie cried. I guess the power is passive and not hindered, he said, looking at the ID. If only healing was the same, he said. Valkyrie was going to say more, but he had fallen back asleep. Sharn could have sworn before his eyes closed he heard a howling echoing across the cold air, and was not sure if it was human or animal descent. Lady Valkyrie bounded through the snow and trees as fast as a cheetah, avoiding the trees and the shrubs with ease, as if the snow didn't bother her. The howling got closer as they reached the Carnival of Wolves. It took them longer by foot to get there, as the sun was setting over the mountains when they arrived. The carnival was still in business, as the rides were in motion, and you could hear people cheering and the employees howling to one another. They were still at a full run, and Valkyrie noticed the ticket booth attendant wasn't paying attention. So in a flash, she jumped over the booth, landing on the other side of the gate. She stopped as soon as she noticed the two of them were now surrounded by giant, snarling wolves. Just beyond the ticket booth was the area for the rides and the carnival booths, but up higher on the mountain was the carnival fortress, where they held their games. There was a long, snowy path winding down the mountain, surrounded in trees. She looked down at the wolves. They bared their teeth at Valkyrie and Sharn, so Lady Valkyrie attempted to jump over them, but they regrouped around her, closing in on them with fierce, glowing orange eyes and snarling teeth. Obviously this is from Twilight, the picture. "Hold," said an unknown voice. The wolf stopped advancing on them. The black wolf raised its head and looked behind him. A tall man in a black fur coat and hood appeared. "You have to pay to play, little lass, unless you want to join us," he said. "There's no time for this," she yelled back. "I need to speak to your ringleader. It's urgent," she demanded. The hooded figure snickered and "Follow me." He led them up the winding path to the castle, the hooded black figure in front, with the alpha black wolf by his side. Lady Valkyrie behind him, and the pack of wolves bringing up the rear. They had left the noisy section of the tourist and carnival rides behind them, and could only be seen between branches of the trees. Ropes of Christmas-style lights lined the winding paths up the mountain. "Lady Valkyrie, what brings you here?" asked the hooded figure. "This boy is going to die if we don't get his carnival ID off," replied Lady Valkyrie. The hooded figure stopped momentarily and turned to them. "So you're going to talk to the ringleader in hopes to get this kid's ID off?" And he asked, pointing to Sharn. Pointed, and Sharn, who was still bundled up in the robe. "He's badly injured. We had an accident," she said, pausing. The hooded figure turned back around and began walking back up the hill as they followed behind him. "I don't see how that could help, but okay," he replied. "Never heard of Taisho Urameshi? Asked Lady Valkyrie. The dragon man from the old fairy tales? Asked the hooded figure. That very one, she said, continuing. He got stuck in this boy, and he's in critical condition. He can be healed if he gets the carnival ID off, so he can use his powers again. So the ID is keeping him from using his powers, and you want to see our ringleader Tarvin to take it off. How do you know he belongs here, and in that case, how did he escape? He asked. His memory is foggy. He doesn't know anything but waking up in Cherrywood's market districts, she explained. A friend identified his ID as belonging here. She was going to go on, but they had reached the end of the pathway, and were at the doors of the castle. This was good because the cold was biting into them. The hooded figure opened the big castle doors and led them inside. He motioned for the pack of wolves that had followed them to go back to work, but let the alpha black wolf stay with him. This is the castle of the Carnival of Wolves. But at night, he led them past a hall of doors labeled with different names of games that they ran. Valkyrie assumed they led to the arenas. Sharn moaned, but still not strong enough to open his eyes, and ended up falling back to sleep. They kept going straight, down a hall, and up a flight of stairs, and even more stairs. Sharn's body was getting heavier for Valkyrie to hold, but she kept walking up the stairs till they reached the top of the tallest tower. The door said, Ringleader Tarvin Igneel. The hooded figure opened the door. There was a large curved window, a big desk and 2 chairs, and a big throne on the ringleader's side of the desk. That was tall and had metal wolf heads on the arms, with black fluffy carpet on the chair. Have a seat, he said as he closed the door. The hooded figure then went behind the desk and said, Welcome to the Carnival of Wolves. My name is Tarvin Ethereal Igneel, he said, throwing his hood off. He had fire purplish red spiky hair, shaggy with the same pointy tufts of hair that Sharn had. If it was you all along, why didn't you just help us outside? Valkyrie cried, almost screaming at him. Like I'd keep the key on me? No, it's locked up in this very room. Plus I wanted to know the story. Valkyrie, and this is what Tarvin Igneel looks like. I know the name is Dragneel in the fairy tale anime, but I changed it to Igneel, the dragon thing. Valkyrie put Sharn's hood down and placed Sharn on the table. The bleeding had long since stopped, luckily, but Sharn was still passed out. Sharn! Yelled Tarvin. So you do know him? Lady Valkyrie asked. Yes, he is the Carnival's adopted son, you could say. We found him as a small boy 7 years ago. He had no parents, so we took him in, Tarvin said. He was just wandering around the town of Westshire, near here, when he saw me and said, Wolfie, and hugged me. He was quite shocked when I transformed back. What happened to him? He said. Please, there's no time, she said, pointing to Sharn, who was wincing in pain now and breathing rapidly but shallow. Tarvin stroked Sharn's head and strolled over to the picture of his black wolf and a young boy that looked like Sharn. The boy was riding the wolf and had a big smile on his face. Tarvin slid it aside to reveal a safe. He entered the passcode and the safe opened. He grabbed the key and closed the safe, returning the picture back to where it was hung. Turning to Sharn, he walked back and taps the key to the red gem. A keyhole forms in it, and as he puts it in and turns it, the carnival ID falls off. Tarvin takes it and puts it and the key back in the safe. Not a second sooner than the ID had been removed, Sharn started to glow a golden yellow. All the wolves in Carnival, even the alpha, started howling. Arrgh! Tarvin went to the window to see a beacon of golden light shooting down from the heavens, where there in the sky was a red alchemy circle hovering over the castle, with the gold light coming from its center. Tarvin turned to face Sharn, who was glowing radiantly as the beacon shone down on him, even through the roof. The golden aura surrounded Sharn. Think about when the doctor regenerates, if that helps. He was healing. Moments later, the bite marks faded away, and Sharn opened his eyes with a groan. With Lady Valkyrie's help, he sat up on the table. "Sharn, I'm so sorry," Valkyrie said. "It's okay. I let you," Sharn replied, and continued. "I guess my anti-vampirism ability is passive and was not blocked. Sharn, I'm glad you're okay," Tarvin cried out, hugging Sharn. He was extra warm from all the fur on his coat, and it felt almost familiar to him. "I'm sorry, but who are you, Sharn?" Tarvin sighed in shock, pulling away from him and looking him in the eyes. "Sharn, it's me, Ringleader Tarvin," he replied. Sharn held his head for a second before replying. "I'm sorry, I'm having bad memory lapse. Am I supposed to know you?" Tarvin looked like he was about to cry, but stopped with just a sad look in his eyes. "I found you wandering the streets of Westshire when you were only 4 years old. I raised you right here in the carnival with the staff members, inmates, and the wolves. We had a blast running the carnival together, you, me, and Grell." He pointed to the alpha black wolf. "Please tell me you remember," he asked. Sharn shook his head. "Clearly there is some time loss in his memory," Lady Valkyrie says. "He went missing last year, during the Festival of Fire, one of our more popular events. We looked everywhere for you. We shut down the carnival to outside guests for 3 months as we searched. We sent the whole pack to go find you. Even the inmates stayed in the cells respectively the whole time. There was only the skeleton crew left to run the place. On the fourth month we had to reopen. We searched every town for miles," explained Tarvin. "Wow, I wish I had remembered," replied Sharn. "I'm not Sharn. My name is Taisho Urameshi, and I do not come from this world. Though as long as I am in this world, I guess it's okay you can call me Sharn, as this is a name given to this body. It's very possible that something tragic had happened to Sharn, as I woke up in an alley one night in Cherrywood. If it wasn't for Lady Valkyrie here, I would be dead." Tarvin just stood there with his mouth ajar. "You lost me at not your body. How is that possible? Where's the real Sharn, then?" Tarvin asked, dumbfounded. "Well," began Sharn, "it's all really hard to explain, but I'm called an Orber. It's like a shapeshifter, but instead of transforming into that person, I own that body. I was born into it, and I can choose from different lives, much like past lives, except for I can pull them from that time into this time. When I'm not said person, it functions on autopilot, living its own life like normal. As for the real Sharn, he's still here. He's just sleeping while I'm active," explained Sharn. "However, I can transform into any animal form that I want without being born into the body." And side note, listen, I've had 20 years dedicated to these stories revolving around the Taisho series, so it's easy for me to understand, but to write it down, it's not as easy. It will come off confusing no matter what I do. It's much too much to explain for one novel. And that was the end of the quote. Tarvin was still pondering that, much like you are, probably, when his phone started to ring. He walked over and picked it up. "Ringleader Tarvin Neal here. How may I help you?" "How did you know she was here?" Okay. "What?" "Thank you for warning me," he said as he hung up the phone. "That was Ringleader Calforius Curon calling. The Curon estate is under attack," explained Tarvin. And with that, is going to be the end of part 1 of Sharn's escape. I wanted to read it all in one go, but unfortunately it's hard on my voice, and it's actually time for me to go to bed. So I will see you guys all in the next video, if this actually makes public on YouTube. Right now I'm only going to put it on private unless I get enough people to say that yeah, it should be good on public. So if you are lucky enough to get the link from private, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and there will be a part 2 probably soon, because this story has already been finished. So thank you for watching. Bye!